Hello cruising world, Mick the suit guy with you. How about my COVID hair? That's what I'm calling it. I'm refusing to get it cut until I start working again. And as my main job as a wedding DJ, and there's no weddings allowed probably the rest of this year, this hair is gonna get out of control before I know it. Anyway, and Christmas in July. Trying to make the most of it. What can I do? All right, now, what we're gonna talk about today. Well, a lot of you probably haven't cruised very much. A lot of you have, so a lot of you will know about what I'm going to say, but I've put together my top 10 things you should do or know about before you cruise, put you in a better place on your cruise. So, no particular order, my top 10 things to do. People will disagree, people will have other ideas, but I think if you do these 10 things, your cruise will be better. If you don't do them, it's still going to be brilliant, but if you do them, it's going to be brilliant-er. How's that? All right, hair over and out. Hope you find this helpful. Okay, so let's go back to the beginning for number 1 of 10. This is before you've even started. This is when you're going to book a cruise. Here's where your first tip comes in. So we're going to take a cruise. We're going to pick one here to the Great Barrier Reef from Australia. There's a lot of special deals going on with Australia cruises right now because Carnival's just put them on their website. I just did a really good Carnival lesson on this the other day, so I know a lot about Australia cruises all of a sudden. As travel agents, we get to do a lot of training with Carnival. Anyway, we're going to pick this cruise. Now, you're going to get to this screen if you do it yourself. Obviously, my suggestion would be use a travel agent or a personal vacation planner through Carnival. They do know a lot more than you, and they know a lot of tricks that will not cost you a penny. It's going to be the same price as you're going to pay right now. But if you do decide to do it yourself online, this screen is going to come up and it only allows you to put one VIFP number in. It's really important you do this twice with both VIFPs to see what offers each of you have. Carnival has different deals all the time for different people. So you'll have your base ones and then you'll have your extras. And here's a prime example. So we're going to take this one, begins in a 9. We're going to go through and here's the deal they have. It's QUS. And they are going to get exclusive rates, 2-for-1 deposits, best available upgrades, and 200 Australian dollars onboard credit. Sounds like a good deal, right? And the room starts at $553. Now, let's punch in the other passenger's VIFP number. As you'll see, this one begins with a 1. And instead of 553, the first thing you'll see is they start at 489. But let's look a little bit closer. And you'll see, instead of $200 onboard credit, they have $1,500 onboard credit. So, you basically look at all of this information here and go with the best deal. In this occasion, it's the QE1, the second passenger, not the first. If you'd only put the first passenger in, you'd have thought you had a great deal. You'd have gone through and booked it. You'd have added the second VIFP number when you added the passengers, and you would never know that you had this deal. So always, always, always check both passengers, the IFP numbers, and go with the best offer. Tip number 1. Tip number 2, check your cabin location. What I've got here is a typical floor plan that you can get these on Carnival all the time. And we're going to go from the deck 5, deck 6, deck 7, deck 8. And you look at this, and before you book or when you think you've decided on a cabin number, I recommend you always check this just to see where that cabin number is, because you don't want to be above or below somewhere that's likely to be noisy. Consequently, if you look at this example, if you book deck 6, look what you're above. If you book this cabin, you're directly above this area over here. This is the bar. There's the dance club. Imagine being in this cabin, the edge of you, you're right above the dance club. Here's the Ebony Cabaret aft lounge. So all of these cabins on this deck are going to be above a potentially very noisy area. There's the Alchemy Bar, for example. So, you probably, unless you absolutely have to or you don't mind loud noise, you probably don't want to book one of these cabins. Alternatively, this deck here, deck 8, is right above deck 7. And deck 7 obviously above deck 6. So anything here on deck 7 is probably a nice, much quieter cabin because you are above and below cabins. You are not above and below the Lido deck or the Alchemy Bar or the nightclub or the restaurants. So just bear that in mind when you book. Check your cabin location. Make sure it's not in a bad area. I'll give you one more example. We're going to go up from deck 7, sorry, deck 6, 7, 8, and 9. And you're going to see, you know where I'm going with this because deck 9 is the Lido deck. So if you book deck 7, you're underneath these cabins. And if you book deck 8, you're underneath all of this. And let me tell you, I made this mistake one time. We got an aft view extended balcony cabin and we were right underneath the Lido deck, and the noise of them moving the chairs around was unbearable. And they do it all hours of the night, any time of the day. So I strongly recommend, where possible, try and avoid being directly under the Lido deck, especially areas where there's chairs that they may or may not be moving around. You know, at the end of the day, especially at the back of the ship here, all the chairs they have around the pool, they move off to the side overnight. So there's going to be noise there all the time. So it's a simple thing. Go to Carnival, check the deck floor plans when you think you have a cabin you know you want, and just make sure you're not above or below anywhere that could potentially be very noisy. All right. Number 3, prepay if you can Cheers and Wi-Fi in advance. It's very simple. It's 10% cheaper when you do it in advance than when you do it on board. And as a quick example, on the 3 to 4 day cruises, the Cheers is slightly more expensive than the 5 day and above. So if you do the 3 or 4 day cruise, it's $64.84. This includes 18% gratuity and taxes, of course. If you book it in advance, $71.33 on board. And remember, both of you in the cabin have to buy that. So it's about $13 a day difference for 2 people in a cabin. And on a 5 day, $61.30 in advance, $67.42 on board, about a $12.25 per cabin per day based on 2 people being in the cabin. So that's quite a chunk when you work it out. For the Wi-Fi, there's your different packages, and 10% difference up to even a little bit more sometimes. $6.80 on the social, $1.02 more per person per day if you book on board. The value, which is the one that most people get, that's the one we recommend. $10.20 per day in advance, $1.50 more per person per day. One thing I would add, you don't both have to get the Wi-Fi package. You can just get one person. That's what we do when we cruise, and we share the package. But you can buy one each if you wanted to. That's going to double all these prices. But you know, you only have to do one. And then the premium, which allows you to do things like Skype and stuff, that'll be $2.17 per person per day more if you book it once you get on board. So the moral of the story simply is book it in advance if you can. Even if it's the day before, book it in advance. Now, next up, pre-book restaurants is my recommendation, especially on some of the newer ships. Those restaurants can get really full and busy. I know we're on the Panorama, as everybody knows, quite a lot in the early part of this year when we could cruise. And pretty much every night I was there, the teppanyaki was sold out, for example. So if you want to guarantee you're getting seats in these restaurants, you book them in advance. You simply go to your online page, find your cruise you're looking at, and then at the bottom here, there's a specialty dining tab. You just click on that. It's going to give you all the onboard dining options that you have. We're going to take the steakhouse, the one in the top left there, for example, and you click on that. When you go add to cart, it's going to ask you what day you want to go, what time you want to go, and then you have to prepay it now. You used to be able to reserve it and pay when you got on board, but a lot of people were just not showing up, and it was becoming a bit of a nightmare in the steakhouse. So they're making you pay in advance, which I agree with, so you know what date and time your booking is, and you're all set. Bear in mind one thing, if you didn't know this, on the steakhouse, if you go the first night of the cruise, you get a free bottle of wine, house wine, or percentage, I think it's 50% off any bottle in the steakhouse if you don't want the house wine. And they're a little bit more lax in clothing because you may or may not have got your cases yet. They will not let you wear shorts. I found that out to my expense when I tried to wear a suit with shorts one time, but they are a bit more lax with that. So that's just something to bear in mind. So that's number 4, pre-book restaurants if you know you want to go. It just saves the worry on the day. Next up, check what you can and cannot bring on board. There's whole pages on Carnival's website for this. You can very easily find them in the FAQ, but this is the main page of the prohibited items. I mean, you can just read through that as we go. Some of them are obvious, some not so obvious. I'm not sure why anybody would want to bring a canoe on board, but anyway, it's there that you can't bring it. Some things you may not know, you can not bring any alcohol, hard liquor or beer on board, but you can bring a bottle of wine each up to 750 milliliters. So you can bring non-alcoholic beverages if they're in a can or a carton, but you can bring nothing on in a bottle. So no water bottles, no nothing like that. And then know what electrical and household appliances you can't bring on. I'm going to show you a page in a minute that shows what you can bring on. This kind of blows my mind, some of the things you can bring on as opposed to some of the things you can't. The logic is if it gets hot, you can't bring it on, which is going to be proven a bit silly in a minute. But why you can't bring a clothes steamer is beyond me. We may or may not still bring one on and hope it doesn't get found, but I didn't say that. We may or may not have got it on board every time we've tried, but I cannot confirm nor deny that. Anyway, there's a list of all the things prohibited. So make sure before you go, you know what you can't bring. It's going to get confiscated, and if it gets confiscated, you do not get it back. They used to have like a walk of shame at the end of the cruise where you would pick up all the stuff that was confiscated. Now they keep it. Now, there are some items you can bring on and use in the port only. So here's a little list of stuff you can bring on board. You cannot use them on the ship, but when you go into a port, as long as that port allows it, of course, you can bring this stuff. You know, golf clubs. Obviously, you're not playing golf on the ship. They got the putting course up top, but you're not fishing off the side of the ship. But all these things on this list here, you can bring on if you are using them in a port and you just store them in your guest stateroom. So that's interesting to know. Some of that I did not know. Although I don't really know why anybody would want to bring a metal detector even when they go into a port, but whatever. That's the list you can use. So that would be number 5 of my 10 suggestions to know or do before you cruise. Number 6 is to know what is in your cabin. Now, oh, hang on a minute, wrong list. But they're gone. Guess what? I prepped this right before they made the announcement last week. So kind of lazy, rather than go and fix it, I just crossed them off. It's very sad to me because I love that class of ship. We've done many cruises on the Imagination and a couple on the Inspiration. So I will miss those ships. But what can you do? They are gone. So every cabin has a beach towel, shampoo, liquid body soap, TV, safe, and a hairdryer, except now the Ecstasy and the Sensation. It's available only in Grand Suites and extended balcony rooms. You can ask your room steward, though, if you want one. And there's a fridge on every one, except the Ecstasy and the Sensation, where it's only in the suites. And on the Sunshine, I mean, obviously, this is subject to change. We're talking about July 2020 right now. So on the Sunshine, all suites and staterooms on deck 3, 5, 10, 11, and 12 have those items, the fridge and the hairdryer. There you go. And you can bring, this is where my confusion comes in, you can bring a hairdryer, you can bring a flat iron, you can bring a curling iron and shavers. Here's my, I don't know what the word is. Aren't flat irons and curling irons hot? What is the difference between that and one of them handheld steamers? I'll never understand it, but the rules are the rules. There you go. So that's what is going to be in your cabin before you sail. So it's good to know so you don't have to bring that stuff if you don't want to. If you haven't seen it before with the beach towels, you can actually take them ashore with you. And when you get back, you can often, there's like a basket when you get back on the ship because they'll probably be wet. And you can drop it in there and just ask your room steward, he'll bring you another one. Or very often, as you drop one off, there'll be a pile of dry ones there for you to pick up and take it back to your cabin and replace. So that's something else to know. Number 7, fly home later. Don't book a flight at 9 or 10 in the morning. Anything can happen. I don't know what's going to happen once we get back cruising again with new restrictions. I'm sure they're going to be letting people off in smaller batches. It may take even longer to get off the ships than it already does. My recommendation, don't book a flight the morning you are going back. Don't book it till early to late afternoon if you can possibly help it. Even enjoy one more day of your vacation. Stay in a local hotel and get a flight back the next morning if you can. But don't, whatever you do, unless you absolutely have to, risk booking a flight the morning you get back, because chances are you're not going to make it. So just bear that in mind. You know, I mean, if you walk off the ship at 7 in the morning and everything's fine and dandy, you've taken your own luggage off, then you might be able to make it, but anything can happen. So that's number 7. Number 8, bring enough cash. Maybe not quite this much, but bring cash with you. The ATMs on board, they charge a pretty hefty fee. And you're going to need some cash. You may not need much, but you can't go cashless, especially when you go into some of these ports. They pretty much all take dollars, but we try and use cash whenever we can. I'll give you an inside tip that I did not give you right now, but what a lot of people will do, a lot of people know this, if you want to get money out in your ATM card, but you don't want to pay the fee, there is a way around it. You can go into the casino, put money on your card, don't gamble, and then withdraw the money from the cashier. Let that sink in for a second. I will repeat one more time. Put money on your card in the casino. So you go up to one of the casino cashier, say, I want to gamble. Can you put some money on my card from my sign and sale account? But then don't gamble. And then the next day, go back to the cashier and say, I'd like to cash my money out, please. And they'll give you cash. No fee in the ATM. Don't think you can get away with that with the onboard credit they've given out to everybody, though. Could you imagine? I'd like to put $600 on my player's card, please. And then the next day, 1,000 guests are going back and saying, yeah, we'd like to withdraw this money. Yeah, they're going to wise up to that. Don't try that. But smaller amounts, you can do it. But I do recommend bringing enough cash that you might need on the cruise with you, because those ATMs are on there, but they charge a hefty fee to take money out. Okay, we're getting there. 2 more to go. By the way, if you do subscribe to my channel, and I recommend you do for obvious reasons, I do have a lot of videos on each of these individual items in much, much more detail if you want to find out more about them. So just sign up and I'll give you the link at the end here. But Mick, the suit guy, and most of those videos, I actually have better hair than I do right now, if there could be such a thing. So we're getting there. 2 more to go. Number 9. Check in as soon as you possibly can, because it gets you the earliest boarding time. Now, if you are in a suite, if you are diamond, if you are platinum, or if you have faster to the fun, this does not apply to you. You're going to get the early times anyway. But if you are not one of those, I do recommend as soon as you can check in that you do so, because it will get you on the ship quicker, and you can start drinking at that lovely Red Frog pub. Go grab your guy's burger. Although, very quick tip for you, when you get on board, know the lunchtime restaurants. Don't go to Guy's Burger the first day. Everybody goes there. The line is huge. But some of the restaurants that people find as the week goes on will be empty. If you have Gigi's on your ship, if you have Cucina Capitano, the Italian restaurant on your ship, they do a lunch deal, which gets quite busy during the week. But the first day, no one knows about it. Go there for lunch instead. Less of a line. Guy's Burgers will be there all week, I promise you. But where you find it out is, if you look at the bottom here, it says My To-Do List, bottom left, and it will tell you what date your check-in is available. So I recommend on that day, you go there. You can also open your planner, they're up top there, and you can go in, and here is a bit larger so you can see it clearer. So, you know, your ship is sailing in 111 days. This is my hopeful cruise for this November on the Conquest. Yeah, I wish. Anyway, so there again, online check-in available on August the 18th, 2020, and then you can do that, print your documents, and then once you print out your boarding pass, it's going to look like something like this. And I mean, you know, we have the priority, so we're okay, but it will give you your arrival appointment time, because you can check in. The later you check in, the less chance you've got of getting on the ship early, because as those appointment gaps fill, you'll move to the next one down. So, you know, if you want to get on the ship as soon as possible, log in, sign up for your cruise on the first available date that online check-in is available. And last but not least, and I do have a very, very big video on this, going into this in a lot of detail, I strongly, strongly, strongly recommend, if you haven't done so, you download the Hub app on your phone. It is a godsend sometimes. There's so much this app does that you won't believe it. It will make, I guarantee you, it's a suit guy guarantee that it will make your cruise much better and simpler and easier to follow, because it gives you everything on this app. It's getting better and better all the time. So you'll download the app, it'll look something like this, and then you can log in using your online Carnival account, and it will look for your first booking. When you get on the ship, you click I'm on board, and it will tell you what to do from there. Although, here's what I recommend though, if once you get on the ship, I wouldn't log in straight away. I would log in as the ship is leaving, because you have to turn off your mobile data and all that good stuff, go into airplane mode. So, and remember to do that, by the way, or you'll be in big trouble. And then you can't, get text and stuff like that as easily. So we normally go that I'm on board as the ship is sailing away. Just a quick heads up there. And then, I logged in and it comes up to my next cruise. Yeah, my cruise on the Conquest in November. We shall see. We shall see. I got a back-to-back on that one. But yeah, like a lot of you, I've already had 5 cruises cancelled, and I'm pretty confident 3 more at least are going to be. So it is what it is. It'll just make it so much better when we get back. So that's my 10 recommendations on what to do before you get on a ship. As I said, I've got much longer videos on my channel about each of these, but I wanted to give you a quick summary on those. So back to you, suit guy with the hair. There you go. Hope that was good. Hope you learned something. Hope you got some good ideas. Again, they're just purely my suggestions, my thoughts. I'm never going to be that guy that tells you, go get a haircut, clearly, or go do this, go do that. My only goal is to make your cruise better. So, hope that helped. Until next time, see you later, Cruising World. Any questions? Email me anytime. cruisingsuitguy@gmail.com. I promise I'll reply as soon as possible. Want to book a cruise or any type of travel? We are travel agents. Check out our site, elitetravelconnection.com, or email me, mick@elitetravelconnection.com. We are here for you. Finally, subscribe, please. Pretty please. You know you want to. Go on. I won't beg you. Okay, I'm begging. Please. Subscribe. Thank you.